DJ accepts no responsibility for the next record.
Say what? Oh no, he didn't. Where's the money, man? Where's my money?
It's time to man up, America.
Let's do this.
All right. You're listening to Man Up America, Talk 101.3 The Buzz, WTNB Television, right here in Cleveland, Tennessee. I've got Mitch in the studio. I'm the good Dr. J. Adam. You can catch us on Charter Channel 5, Comcast 210, Digital TV Dial 27.1, YouTube, Facebook Live. That's right.
Things.
All them things. We are live in the studio today, and we've got a busy day ahead of us because yesterday we made some waves.
Oh, gracious.
Made some waves.
For those of you who aren't crazy air out.
Yeah, for those of you who are not familiar with the topics we discussed yesterday, we talked about the death penalty.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about tropes in Hollywood, which we're going to follow up on today, especially those related to homosexuality. We talked a little bit about Donald J. Trump. There was just a little something for everybody to get offended or upset about. But no, we had some great feedback last night, some good dialogue on the socials, messages sent through facebook.com/manuptalk. And
somebody commented and wanted to know if I was really as red as I looked on TV.
I think that they were alluding to that you were embarrassed.
No, like if you look at that camera angle, it's.
Well, let's look at that camera angle.
I actually prefer
you
that.
You are kind of
one.
that red.
I like it.
It gives
though.
it's got a little fuzz on you today. You look a little L'Oreal.
I know. So if we could just keep that'd be great.
Okay, so we'll keep that.
I
camera
like
angle.
that look.
I, on the other hand, no, I don't know about this look.
You know, it's borderline
I think
Oompa
I should
Loompa.
shave.
I don't know.
I should shave. Yeah, no, okay.
No.
Maybe. I don't know. So, camera angles are everything. You know, they say the camera adds 15 pounds.
Good Lord.
I wish the camera would take it back.
Right.
Maybe if I get out in front of cameras. So, no, we had a good show. Maybe Rob Alderman was on with us yesterday. And like always, he's good at stirring the pot a little bit, which is why we have him on the program, is he brings that other kind of flavor to things. And we had a chance to talk about some of the things that are obviously prevailing on the socials. Again, this show, a little bit of pop, a little bit of politics. And then along the way, we take what's trending in social media and we put it out there. So we are going to follow up a little bit on some of the things we talked about yesterday. But let's go ahead and let's get to the flop. All right, so today, the big news trending on the socials right now, Aaron Hernandez has committed suicide. For those of you who are not familiar with who that is, he was a tight end for the New England Patriots between 2010 and 2012, was subsequently released from the team after he was indicted for murder.
Right.
He was convicted of that murder, which was his fiance's sister's boyfriend.
Who was also a semi-professional football player.
I guess, but needless to say, he was convicted for that one.
Life
he was
sentence.
accused and indicted, a life sentence without the possibility of parole.
Right.
Was accused of a double murder, of which last week he was acquitted.
Right.
And
Friday he was acquitted.
So that's
and
very
bizarre.
They show this really touching video of him blowing a kiss to his daughter as they took him back to his life term in prison. And then he hung himself with bed sheets.
Right.
Evidently last night in his cell. Authorities say that they did not know that he was a suicide risk, that they had any indication they would have moved him to a mental health facility. But needless to say, a 27-year-old football player is no better off than someone who lived to be 28 at this point. This story's trending on social media because we've never quite seen something like this. You remember when O.J. was going through his trial, and I know O.J. was acquitted, but we can all acknowledge the fact that O.J. Simpson's trial was a really big deal.
Right.
Really big media, PR, fiasco,
Right.
really, is what it ultimately will wind up. But people were so enamored by the O.J. trial, not for the gravity of the crime, but because it was O.J. Simpson.
Right.
Beloved football player, the man who apparently had everything. But O.J. did this on the backside of a career.
Right.
Right? Or allegedly did this. This happened to O.J. He
glove
went
don't fit.
He went he went through the trial on the backside of his career.
Right.
Aaron Hernandez was 2 years in.
Right.
And was he wasn't like a role player on the team. He was the tight end. He was the guy. Before Gronk was the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Aaron Hernandez was the guy. And then while he's in the NFL to commit a murder like this over something that seemed like it wasn't even murder worthy. Like even the double murder that he was acquitted of, which most people think, he was acquitted because there wasn't enough evidence, but
Right.
was over a guy spilling a drink on him.
Yeah. I mean, the way that all these accusations played out, the one he was convicted for and the ones he was acquitted for, just leads you to believe that he was not a nice dude. Like, he wasn't the type of guy that you would want your kids to idolize, even outside of.
The initial story, when this first came out, that Aaron Hernandez might be a thug, okay?
Shocker.
Was really about where he was raised, his gang affiliations, which he obviously maintained. If there's something to be gleaned from this story, I would have to say it is that opportunity doesn't save everyone.
Right.
Because he obviously had plenty of money, plenty of opportunity, playing. He was athletic.
Plenty of chances to make
plenty
the
of
right
chances
decisions.
to be an upstanding member of society. Yet he chose to maintain relationships in the areas of his life that ultimately led to his demise. His decision to take his life obviously is, like in any case, a sense of hopelessness.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone with hope
Lost.
ever really
Just
commits
lost.
suicide. I mean, I know some people might disagree, but I think hope is that powerful. I think that people who are hopeless resort to that, and life in prison without the possibility of parole is pretty hopeless. The fact that he endured through that trial makes me think that maybe he was wishing for a death penalty. I don't know. What do you think?
I think the timing of the whole thing is very odd that he was just acquitted.
Camera angle.
Yeah. He was just acquitted and, Friday. And then last night, early this morning, they find him. So it's just very bizarre of the timing. Like, why would he endure so much of his sentence beforehand? And then all of a sudden decide that this was it, unless, like you said, he was hoping for a death penalty, which we all know ultimately means life in prison without parole anyway, because nobody actually does it.
Nobody actually, which you mentioned on yesterday's program. It got breezed over a little bit in the banter, but we were talking about the stay of executions in Arkansas. And Rob had proposed that the death penalty is not a deterrent, that there's no data that says that. And I did concur with him. I said there really is no data that says it's a deterrent. And you made a very good point that, if we did it like we said we were going to do it, maybe we could trust the data better.
Me, right?
And which was kind of the man up moment. I gave you props. That was the man up moment of
Thanks.
yesterday. Was Mitch dropping that bomb? That yes, it was.
Well, it's like your global warming statistic. They're very
it's watered
misleading
down. Well, yeah,
statistics.
there's not purity in the numbers. I understand, but I can't help but think, and this is the dad in me. They played this clip of him blowing a kiss, an emotional moment where he blew a kiss to his daughter, and I wonder if seeing her, and I wonder if it just sunk in everything that he's lost at that moment. If it finally hit him,
Right. Yeah.
Now,
no,
you
I
got
could-
some people
I
who
could
say
see
that probably he didn't kill himself, that somebody else did.
There
You're
are
going to have all of that.
speculations already
But this
floating.
is far from a Justice Scalia moment,
Right.
I would say. But that's the top leading story today. Second to that is it is the anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing, April 19th, which is a reminder to us all that you do not have to be Muslim to be a terrorist.
Right.
We obviously Timothy McVeigh and his cohort, who was executed.
Yes, yes.
Timothy did not get a stay. We did execute that
yes.
guy. But we honor the memory of those who lost their lives in Oklahoma City, which was in its own, we talked about the monumental moment that the O.J. Simpson trial was. The Oklahoma City bombing, in many ways, was the first time we felt vulnerable at our
Right.
heart in the heartland.
That was the first time people were like, "Oh, this can happen here."
Mm-hmm.
What? No.
Tiffany, I know you were like 4 when it happened.
What
Tiffany,
year was
but-
it? What year?
Well, we're celebrating the 20-something anniversary. Let's see here. Let's see. April 19th. This is what I was getting at. 95. So 95.
I was
95. So
10.
21st anniversary. And it killed 168 people.
Yeah.
I can't. I remember 9/11. I was in college. I remember that moment. My father talks about remembering the assassination of JFK. 95. I'm trying to remember when I first heard about the Oklahoma City bombing, and it's a little blurry to me. And I remember what I do remember though is how I felt. I was in 95. I was a teenager. I was in high school, but I remember feeling scared
Yeah.
for the first time, like, are we at war kind of thing. We had been coming out of the first Gulf War
Right.
that had happened in the early 90s, and we had but that was over there.
Right.
That was away. That wasn't here in the heartland. So even though I can't remember where I was, I remember how I felt.
I just remember seeing it. I do remember seeing it on TV, and I remember being afraid because where I grew up in Central Illinois, it's farmland. So, they talk about the fertilizer bombs and things like that. And I remember being terrified of being near the elevators and farms after that because I'm like, these things can explode. And so that was, a conversation that we had to have was, well, no,
Well, I do
it's
think
not going to explode here.
I do think it was a very it was a sobering moment, and it obviously has not subsided. I think to some degree, as we look at the distance of history, it will be glassed over by 9/11. 9/11 was, this was 168 people, 3,000 people died in
Right.
9/11, and it was obviously a foreign-led attack, an aggression from foreign entities on
Right.
U.S. soil. So it was kind of the grown-up version of what took place at Oklahoma City. But Oklahoma City really need not be forgotten for what it was.
Well, I think, too, it will be, 9/11 will overshadow it also, I think, because it's more comfortable to talk about someone that was not homegrown.
That's right.
You don't
That's
want to
right.
think about your neighbor.
And people bring
being-
up Timothy McVeigh when they talk when you start talking terrorism, and the folks who are constantly going don't profile the Arabs, right? Don't
yeah.
profile the Muslims because remember Timothy McVeigh, and I'm like, profile them all.
Yeah.
A white dude walks in and buys an unreasonable amount of fertilizer. Ask a few questions,
Right.
okay? Rents
Right.
and shows up in an unmarked box truck. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
maybe.
Right. We're past the point now where we can't afford not to be vigilant and ask questions when things like that happen. And sometimes it's completely innocent, but you'd hate to not ask that question and for it not to be. So, I don't know.
Well,
That's-
but you're right. It's more comfortable for us to look and point and think about the non-American attacks that we've endured. But
Yeah.
there are people who are our neighbors who sometimes want to hurt us.
what
and
was
so-
his big grievance? Like, what was his reasoning
I mean,
behind?
he had a list of them, and I don't know how much of that came out in the trial. Again, I've got a lot of fuzziness around this moment. I remember how I felt. I don't remember where I was,
Yeah.
exactly what I thought. I was a teenager, so I didn't soak it in like in 9/11 when I was an adult, and this was, I could be deployed
Yeah.
kind of,
Right,
kind of
yeah.
moment. But
Right.
it is the anniversary, and so we do want to remember that today. That is the second trending story on the socials. Speaking of homegrown, we recently had a deportation,
We did.
our very first deportation of what we would call a dreamer here in the United
Right.
States. The dreamers are individuals who were brought here when they were young and given protected status. They weren't brought here, they didn't come here when they were 3. They didn't cross the border,
Right.
intentionally. They were brought here, and all they've ever really known is the United States. Many people are very sympathetic to the Dreamers because they feel like
It's not their fault.
in their perception, the only home they've ever known is the United States.
Right.
They've lived here, they've grown up here, they've gone to school here. They know only the U.S. as home.
Right.
If you were to deport them to their home country, it would be like us being deported to a foreign country, and in the process feeling just as, away from home.
Right.
And so the Dreamer status, I think it's DACA
Right.
is the classification they
DACA
use.
status.
It has to be renewed every so often. So this cat was deported in California. Evidently he was caught without an ID, which
Yeah.
he's supposed to have an ID, so he messed
Right.
up there. They took him to a border patrol station. They deported him to Mexico. He tried to sneak back in the U.S. by climbing over a border fence. They caught him again. Then they charged him with illegal entry into the U.S. and
Right.
deported him again.
Right.
He's like, I've been here since I was 6. I have DACA
Nine.
status.
Nine.
I have DACA status. The Border Patrol says he doesn't have it. It expired when he was 15. His lawyer says he does have it. In 2015.
His lawyer says he's protected in 2000 until 2018.
And he does have a criminal record, although it's
does.
debating how bad it is.
Right. It says it was a misdemeanor for shoplifting. Here's the thing, though. It's like, okay, you were deported.
I was never deported.
Well, let's pretend.
Pretend I was
This
deported.
is like
They sent me back to Ireland.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I got you.
So at what point in time do you feel like it's a good idea to climb back over the fence? Like, again, breaking the law.
Oh,
Like,
no. Listen, I get it. I think
What? Like,
I've seen enough Breaking Bad to where if you throw me on the other side of the Mexican fence, I'm trying to get back in. I don't have an ID, obviously,
No.
because I didn't have it when you caught me. You've deported me.
Right.
I'm probably a little thin on cash. I might be able to make a phone call, but at the very least, I'm probably scared of what happens next, and I'm running out of options. And if I see a fence, I think I can climb there.
you're doing it?
So I think I'm sympathetic to that moment for that guy. He's thinking if I can get over this fence and just get home,
Yeah.
I'll be okay.
Yeah.
But he didn't get home.
The funny thing is the opening line in this argument says that he is alleging that the government did not provide any documentation explaining the legality of sending him back to Mexico. And
Well,
I'm
he's
like,
asking for why he was sent
well,
back.
I'm like, what an amazing double standard you have where your parents came here illegally without any documentation and now I owe you something. No.
Well, no, he's asked for a freedom of information on.
Well,
He's saying I have
I need to know why.
I have legal
Right.
status here. Why did you deport me?
Yeah.
The Border Patrol answered that question saying you don't have
don't.
legal status here. So
Yeah.
it seems the agreement is whether or not he does.
Right.
I think he obviously has an attorney working on
Uh-huh.
his behalf. If he does have legal status, I have a hard time thinking he doesn't make it back in the country.
Right.
I have also a hard time thinking that any reasonable prosecutor would prosecute
take
him
this
for
on.
illegal entry
Right.
if he's proven to have legal status.
Right. Well,
But
That'd be
now,
silly.
I
It
don't
would-
know enough about the border laws to know that even if you're a U.S. citizen, if you choose to cross at a non-crossing point, if that's a crime or not. I'm sure it might be.
I think it's probably like jaywalking, maybe.
Who
I don't
knows?
know.
But this kid, I don't
don't
know.
know.
He's what, 23?
23.
23 years old.
Have you been down, to the border, in Texas?
I have.
you
I've been
seen-
Tijuana
Okay,
area. I've not been to
okay.
Texas. I've been California, Tijuana area.
I've been San Antonio and
Okay.
that realm. But I think it's so funny because it says that he was deported in the border town of Calexico.
Which is California and Mexico put together.
There's your first problem.
So we know
right
that
there.
that town's full of geniuses. All
Right.
right, Cleveland, Tennessee, the city with spirit. Couldn't you have just been Athanuga?
Athanuga.
Couldn't you-
But it
Athanuga.
says that he climbed over the fence in downtown. Like, to me, that's baffling.
Well, that's why I'm saying it seems like desperation.
Right.
It seems like he thought, I've got to. There's
Not
the
so
fence. I
much
got to
the
get over there.
climbing of, just that in the middle. I don't know. I guess in my mind, I'm thinking like outside of town. Not like here's the barber shop and it's in the United States, and over there's the grocery store and it's in Mexico, like downtown. Like imagine
it's
walking
like
down
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody who's ever been to San Diego, which is where I went, you go down to Coronado Beach and all of that that's right there. In fact, I think in Fear of the Walking Dead, they actually showed that border. That fence actually goes out into the ocean.
Yeah.
Okay, to where you could, if you were brave enough, swim out about 100 yards and go around. And I remember talking to a Mexican family across the
Across the fence.
I spoke a little Spanish, they spoke a little English, and we were able to communicate. And it's this big, rugged iron fence right there on the beach. But we talked across the fence, and that was Tijuana. And you could see from the upper floors of buildings in that south part of San Diego, you could see Tijuana. It's not, they're almost one city together. They're not miles apart like Cleveland, Chattanooga, or like, Buckhead, Atlanta.
Right.
They're
Right.
like Minneapolis, St. Paul, if you've ever been there.
Yeah.
They're right on top of each other.
Yeah.
There's just this fence in between.
Well, I don't know how I feel about this. I think obviously there's which I think is a theme in our government, some miscommunication here and some paperwork that maybe had or had not been filed correctly. It doesn't sound like he was a bad kid. He said he misses his school. He's 23, so he's obviously
in college
somewhere.
But he does have a theft charge.
He
The
does
Border
have-
Patrol made it look like it was he robbed a bank.
Right.
His lawyer says he was caught shoplifting.
Shoplifting, according to his attorneys. Now that
And it is a
hasn't been-
misdemeanor.
But I just wonder why, and I don't know the process, so why was he not given the opportunity to show the documentation
Well,
that he had?
I think therein
or-
lies the thing. I think this is probably going to be easily resolved,
Mm-hmm.
but it's become the media
Right.
gotcha Trump. This is the first dreamer to be deported under Donald J. Trump.
Yeah.
And so had this been under Barack Obama's watch, it would not be in the newspaper.
Right.
Right now.
Okay, but can we just call a spade here? Yes, this was under Donald Trump, but he knew that he had to have that documentation. Otherwise, he risks being deported, and he chose
I think
to
there's
go out
there's,
without
there's
it.
plenty of fault. I think they're
So-
they're going to hash out that fault. But again, the media is capitalizing on another chance to jab Donald J. Trump. So here's my two thoughts on this story. Number one, this is obviously the media pushing to get Donald Trump, which is just further evidence that they're going to reach farther than any point they've
Right.
ever reached on any other president. Okay, you can argue all day you want to, liberal friends. They're going to do it. But to give you I'm going to throw you a bone, little liberal friends. If there is an arena of immigration that we can have immediate compromise on, it's in the area of dreamers.
Sure.
I think that there's enough support across the aisle to come up with a solid plan for these kids who have always been. This is home.
Right.
This is home. They may not have the legal status, but by the same reason you can walk in and say, I didn't know, I can plead it. You can plead ignorance in the court of law.
Sure.
If you can prove that you were ignorant of the law, you are not accountable for it. These children cannot, at 3, 4, 5, even 9 years of age, be responsible for understanding the gravity of being smuggled across the border.
Right.
Nor can they resist.
Right.
So your argument that, well, the first criminal activity you had was coming over illegal falls short
Sure.
with these people.
Yeah. No, I think that's
They
why
truly are
dreamers
innocent.
don't bother me that much.
And we all knew them. We went to school with them. We grew up with
Right.
these kids. And they're nothing more than U.S. citizens
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. One of the best, actually, Marco Rubio supported this, and I think it got hijacked by the liberals at some point and made something more than it was. But there's this idea at one point that if you graduate from one of our best colleges, and if you join the military and you serve 4 years, that it's an easy path to citizenship.
Right.
Like if you commit to being a responsible citizen in society, you're the kind of person we want
Sure.
here.
Yeah.
That's contributing to the social good.
Yeah.
I loved that plan.
Yeah.
Again, I think it got turned into something greater.
Yeah.
But there you go. First dreamer is arrested. Speaking of dreams, the man that you fall asleep and dream to every night, Bill O'Reilly.
I couldn't do it
Mitch.
last
No,
night.
let's get it on the camera angle. Mitch's disappointment.
Bill O'Reilly was on vacation,
Well,
according to
I
Fox
believe he's
last
on
night.
I believe he's on indefinite leave. It looks like it's going to be. It looks like there's negotiations between Fox and Bill O'Reilly to release him from his contract. Fox will no longer maintain Bill O'Reilly. Again, this is just reports at the moment. Nothing has happened, but it was something we talked about yesterday with the sexual assault allegations.
Yeah.
Bill O'Reilly still denies these. He says
Right.
he settled how many millions?
$13 million.
$13 million out of court over the years, and he says in every instance he settled it to save himself,
to rest any
put to rest.
controversies, to
Yeah.
spare my children.
It was settled out of court. Was it the New York Times that got a hold of these stories or somebody?
that's a lot of money.
Spare his kids the drama to just avoid the. Now I know people who have that mentality. Don't fight it. It's worse to fight it. I bet he's regretting that now. But here's the thing: the report shows he has 4 million viewers nightly, and it did not drop one bit.
Because I
Yet.
said it yesterday.
Viewers only matter if they draw advertisers.
Right.
Because advertisers bring money to the network, and even though he did not lose viewers, he did lose advertisers.
Who pulled?
I think most people.
Did they?
Most people. There was a list out a while back. Maybe we can get that and share it on tomorrow's program. But it just shows you that money talks, everything else walks.
Yeah.
When the money dries up, so does your celebrity very, very quick.
Well, I think he's gonna do fine. He'll do fine.
Where do you think he
elsewhere.
lands,
I
Mitch?
don't know. I'm trying to think
Does he
about
follow
where.
Greta to MSNBC?
That would make my life if Bill O'Reilly ended up
O'Reilly's
at
not a
MSNBC.
conservative. He's not a Republican, and he's not a Democrat. He declares himself to be an independent.
Right.
He's somewhat libertarian. I'm trying to think of where people like that ultimately land, and
There just isn't one.
no, unless he wants Tommy Lauren's spot over on the Blaze. They got to fill it with something. How dead is her career now?
I think Bill
her career
O'Reilly
is over.
Yeah.
Her career is over.
Like who? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. She'll be on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh,
That's the
bless
next
it.
time. Mark my words. I'm going to say it in the camera. Next time you see Tommy Lauren, she will be, or Loren, or however she says her name, she will be on Dancing with the
I
Stars
don't even know
or
if
Celebrity
she's
Apprentice.
big enough to do Dancing with the Stars. I think it would be more like that Ice Skating with the Stars show.
that a thing?
It was very briefly.
It was? Was it like, I don't know.
It was like the B-level stars that weren't even B-level enough to get on Dancing with the Stars.
Has-beens on ice?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Do you not think, though, that Bill O'Reilly would eat Glenn Beck alive, like over at the Blaze? I mean, come on.
No, they're friends. When Glenn Beck was on Fox, he came on the O'Reilly Factor.
You mean before Glenn Beck turned into a liberal?
Oh, Glenn Beck's a liberal now.
Oh, yes.
Okay. I think that's a stretch.
Can't even say anything on the Blaze without it getting blocked and thrown off.
Oh, so that makes him a liberal.
Yes.
He can't just be a control freak. He's got to be a liberal.
He might be. He might be a control freak.
Glenn Beck is not liberal. Glenn Beck is off his rocker in a lot of ways. But no, when he was on Fox, he came on the O'Reilly Factor quite often.
Yeah.
And it was always, they challenged each other back and forth. They
I
were
don't
obviously friendly.
know where he ends up, but I hate this because I do think he's a smart guy. And I think obviously a lot of people liked his show. And
Well, he did some things that nobody had ever done. That whole no spin zone.
Right.
We're going to speak, to a lot of the things we try to be on this program where it seems like we rub everybody wrong a little bit because we kind of speak to the reality of it, even if it's
Right.
uncomfortable. He did that.
yeah.
So, but obviously that's wrapping up.
Who's going to take his spot, I wonder?
Who knows?
Hope it's Tucker Carlson. I love him too.
I don't know. Tucker Carlson seems to be doing pretty good in his spot.
I know.
Well, we got to go to a commercial break. We'll be back in a moment. Again, you're listening to the good Dr. J. Adam and Mitch on Man Up America. We'll be back in a moment.
Dr. J. Adam here, talking to all the gentlemen out there For those of you with wives, girlfriends, even mothers, which would make all of you, you need to call 423-472-8887 and talk to the good folks at Bliss Day Spa. Nothing says I love you like the special treatment, the VIP treatment of the services of Bliss Day Spa. Call them today, 423-472-8887. Tell them the good doctor sent you from Men Up America.
Jay Adam, have you ever felt kicked in the gut when trying to get approved for a loan or a home mortgage? Then go by and see my friends at Home Mortgage Solutions for a free approval. They don't hand them out like candy and just tell you what you want to hear, but they dig deep to find the solutions you need to get qualified. They have competitive rates, and with over 80 years of experience under one roof, you don't have to go anywhere else. They're never too busy, so just give them a call, 423-339-8086, or visit HomeMortgageSolutionsLLC.com.
You do things every minute of every day to protect them. Don't stop now. Woodman Life Family Term Life Insurance covers your entire family with a monthly premium that won't increase for the first 20 years. Guaranteed.
I'm making my decision, give you everything you need. You want a true confession? Well, here's a promise you can't keep. Here's a promise you can't keep, baby. No, no, you don't. No, don't be alone. Ooh, never, ever, ever, ever have to be alone. Ooh, I won't stand by and watch you be ignored. You don't have to be lonely anymore. Hey. Ride me right on down the road with my soul. Out here all alone, and we say goodbye to our problems and kiss our blues away. Nothing out there can make me aware, and nothing out there can make me get a day.
It's reassuring to know that when you retire, Woodman Life will be there with you, providing insurance protection and financial security so that you can sit back, relax, and enjoy your retirement, knowing that you and your family are safe and secure. For more information,
423-790-2847.
Woodman Life, standing strong for generations.
Okay, folks, nothing too elaborate with this commercial right here. The Venue Creekside is located in Cleveland, Tennessee, and is here for your next event. Most people rent a facility and then they spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars bringing in the things they need to make it an awesome event. The Venue Creekside has it all on site. It's included tables, chairs, linens, everything you need in multimedia from sound, lights, and video. It's all right there. Consider it for your next corporate meeting. Right there at the Venue Creekside, located at the Village Green. So get more information at thevenuecreekside.com or call them 473-9668. If you mention Men Up America, save an extra $100 on your rental. Okay, folks, nothing too elaborate with this commercial right here.
All right, and we're back here at WTNB Television, Charter Channel 5, Comcast 210, Digital TV Dial 27.1, right here in Cleveland, Tennessee. I'm the good Dr. J. Adam. You're listening to Man Up America with Mitch. And we went into the break following up on the Bill O'Reilly thing. We kind of kept talking about this whole sexual harassment, sexual assault thing, which kind of immediately throws us into a follow-up discussion that we're going to have on the turn today. With I finished the program yesterday talking a little bit about how it would affect us. Oh, sorry, I've got stuff going on here. How this 13 Reasons Why program, and we got a lot of discussion off of that because I said on social media people are propping this up as some sort of therapeutic viewing and interventionist tool for your teenagers, and I said I'm a little hesitant on that, but sexual assault's a big part of that film too. So without any further ado, let's get to the turn. All right, so with regards to 13 Reasons Why, I actually did a personal little follow-up post last night on this, and we didn't get into this in the program yesterday. But for those of you who didn't listen yesterday and those of you who haven't watched this program, it is a series on Netflix that chronicles a high school girl who commits suicide and leaves a set of tapes behind for 13 people in her life who influenced her towards suicide to listen to.
Right.
And these tapes get passed around unbeknownst to authority or her parents, and it kind of tells how everybody's either wronged her or affected her, yada, yada, yada. And I cautioned people yesterday on this program, and I said, I did use the phrase, this is why you shouldn't watch it.
Right.
I'm going to back up on that a little bit and say, I'm not saying you shouldn't watch it, but I want you to know that I think the healthy approach to this series is to see it as TV.
Right.
It is TV that draws upon several tropes that exist in the TV world right now, even some stereotypes, some cliches, and it's almost like a country song. Everything that can go wrong does go wrong for this girl. The dog dies, her truck breaks down, her wife leaves her, all of those kind of things.
Right.
And so, but sexual assault was a part of this. We're not going to do spoilers on this program, so I'm not going to spoil the series. But I will highlight some of the tropes that exist in it that I have a problem with, that for people who are going to use this as a hey teen, watch this movie so you can understand the gravity of bullying and sexual assault and rape and suicide and high school drama and all these. This is why I don't think it's a realistic picture. I think it may be a caricature of what this situation is. That being said, I said on yesterday's program, it's good TV. The guy who plays the lead in this story, I really enjoy watching him. His acting's great in this program. The storyline is compelling. It draws people in, which is why so many people are getting attached to this show. But I'm going to pick out a few tropes, and I actually want to start with the one that I personally put on Facebook last night.
Right.
And in this show, it continues to support the stereotype that all high school athletes are overlords of the school who just continually abuse people.
Right.
And I've always been concerned with this as a parent because, and I was an athlete in high school, but I wasn't just an athlete. That wasn't what I was involved in the drama department and the music department. I was kind of spread across. Big high school, small high school? Yeah, big high school, 5A high school in North Carolina.
Okay.
I graduated with like 500 and something people. I mean, it was a big high school.
Okay.
A diverse high school, both sexually, intellectually, ethnically diverse high school. And even being an athlete, I'm concerned more now as a father because I have a son who is the quintessential athlete.
Right.
And I mentioned on yesterday's program that I teach my boys at an early age now that they need to take more responsibility for every situation they're in, that's something that they're going to have to do. And it worries me for my son because I've already dealt with a situation where he was labeled the bully because he was more athletic than the other kid that was involved, but a short investigation revealed he wasn't the instigator. And so this question of bullying and how easily it's placed on people who are perceptively strong or athletic.
Right.
And this show does tackle this trope. So we're not going to talk about necessarily the show because we don't want the spoilers. But let's talk about this idea that all athletes are not bullies.
Right.
And that we throw the word bullying around very maliciously sometimes. I was talking with a friend today at lunch, and for our listeners and viewers, I'm just going to kind of let you into our conversation. I said to him that the number one problem with bullying right now is we don't have a clear definition of what bullying is.
Yeah.
And I think anybody in a school system would say that right now. There's too many varying definitions of bullying. So this is my definition. To be a bully, you have to intentionally target someone for no apparent reason with the purpose of causing them duress and agony. So, let's say the head of the football team.
I would consider that a brat. I think that consistently. Like, I think it needs to be done consistently.
But this is the thing. If you are the captain of the football team and some jackwagon in the school writes the derogatory thing on the bathroom wall about your sister and you proceed to accost him, you may be the aggressor and you may be in the wrong, but you're not a bully.
Right.
There's a reason that you're harping on this guy.
So
right?
uninstigated.
Yeah,
would
it is
be a
not just you
bullying.
walking around seeking to create misery in
Right.
other people.
Right.
And I'm concerned that sometimes we don't look to the situation far enough. People are quick to say, my child's being bullied. And I think back to situations in high school that some people would have labeled bullying with me. And if I'm honest, I'm saying, no, we really just didn't like each other.
Right.
I didn't like them any more than they didn't like me.
Right.
We knew it. And anytime we caused grief for one another. Then there's the instances of, I think back to one particular guy who somebody would have said, that guy's bullying you. And I would have said, no, he treats his friends like that too. He's just a jerk.
Right.
He's just a jerk to everybody. Even people he's friendly with. He's not singling me out. He's a jerk to everybody in the room.
Yeah.
He's going to fail miserably in life, but no, he's a jerk. That's his issue. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm concerned about the bullying thing. I'm concerned that the jock in the high school is easily singled out, and I'm concerned for my son who will be that someday, I think.
Yeah. I think, too, with athletes, there comes a certain amount of mental toughness that you acquire just from, being disciplined in your practicing and in your
We lost your
competitiveness.
close-up, good-looking camera.
Man.
It's gone. It was such a good angle, Mitch. You were glowing red perfectly.
And I even wore white today to
Even wore white so you weren't a
accentuate the
floating
glow.
head on the back.
But I think, too, that there's a certain amount of mental toughness.
Oh, here comes the producer.
Yes!
It's going to rescue your camera. She loves that angle.
I
It makes
do.
her glow red.
Yeah, well, but that not necessarily not all kids have, but it's kind of honed in more on athletes because they do have to be mentally tough in situations and game ready, and so they're able to kind of decipher that a little bit better than children that aren't involved in those activities. So they can be a little tougher. It doesn't mean that they're mean. It means that they are tougher. And that's fine. It's
I'm
totally
just
fine to be
concerned
tough.
that, and I'm teaching my son, listen, you are athletic. And I tell him I mentioned that level of responsibility. I teach him because you're stronger, you're in a position to better step in for other people who are weaker than you too. Okay?
Right.
So your responsibility, to whom much is given, much is required, that you can actually be a presence to dissuade bullying, okay?
Right.
So I do put that on him, that you have the opportunity to defend others.
Sure.
I'm concerned about him getting in a legitimate conflict with someone and having an unfair advantage of being deemed a bully.
Right. Well,
I carry concern for that. I do, as a parent. I carry concern.
what is the school's policy? Like zero
Once-
tolerance
there's
on
there's
both
not a clear
ends,
definition.
or-
Until we have a clear definition, there may be a policy on bullying, but there's not a clear definition that I can read anywhere. When I
These
say
are-
people
these
have
are
their
the type of
definitions, but there's no
situations
consensus.
that I hate, like either 100% or nothing. Like come on, you can't have unclear boundaries and I don't like it at all. Either give me concrete or don't give me anything at all.
Well, and I know it's abstract, and I know it's tough for a lot of people to talk about and to try to define, but there has to be a conscious effort. I'm just concerned about it for my son, and once again, this 13 reasons why does no favors to what I feel is a growing unfair perception in schools about this. Now, everybody will look back and say, oh, man, my high school, the jocks were bullied. Oh, listen, we've got to be careful that we do not perpetuate falsities in any regard.
Right. And I think the only real thing you can do to prevent this is, number one, don't raise jerks. And number two, make sure your kid knows that they're worth so much more than what people at school are saying about them. That needs to happen at home, not at school. So that's my bullying policy.
Another trope that the show perpetuates that I'm surprised more people aren't upset about is the dismissive absentee educator. I noted yesterday that there's a scene in the show where they dress up for Halloween, and again, members of the jocks dress up in completely inappropriate costumes that are sexually oriented, and that the educators, it's like nobody's around, it's not a big deal. And we just know, particularly locally, that's not the case.
Right.
It's very unkind to the school counselor role. There are 2 school counselors in the show. It makes one of them seem dishonest and dismissive. It makes the other one seem giddy and disconnected. And my wife was
Rachel
like,
rolls her eyes.
yeah, and like one of them, all he does is meet with students all day long to talk about this suicide. And she's like, in what world do all I get to do all day long is talk to students and counsel students? No world. I'm doing testing. I'm doing disciplinary stuff. So it's really, it doesn't play any favors to educators, which I don't know of many who are as bad as they're portrayed in the show, and evidently the whole school is that bad.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised more educators aren't saying, as you use this show, once again, it's good TV. It plays on these popular tropes that draw us in and make us feel emotionally connected, but it's just not true to reality with regards to that.
Yeah. I think that's true of like a lot of shows, though, because even if you watch, Disney Channel's on in my house, there are never any parents on these shows. There are never any teachers in the schools.
Well,
There's never
I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons because of how it portrayed the father role in the house. My father said, I do not identify with Homer Simpson, and that is not what a father does, and that's not how children talk to their father, and you're not going to learn from this show at a young age. And I wasn't allowed to watch it.
Well, that's like a lot of shows. Boogs isn't allowed to watch on Disney Channel because kids, when the mama walks through the room, the kid does nothing but mouth. And I'm like, no, that's
and this
not
isn't
how
the
this
first
works.
time we've exposed these kind of tropes. We talked about how the blue-collar workforce is always deemed dumb and ignorant and silly in Hollywood movies, and we played that video with Mike Rowe about that. But the last one, and I noted this yesterday, and some people kind of got worked up over this, I noted that they're playing the trope of the really masculine homosexual in this show. Now, I didn't make quite any judgments on whether it was realistic or not. I said it's a trope right now because for so long we had the very flamboyant, effeminate homosexual role. Think of Jack in Will of Grace, right? But there was a movie with Woody Harrelson, and I can't even remember the movie. I remember the lines in the movie, but he just played like this rough, masculine kind of guy, but he was gay. And it's the first time I remember seeing that and going, well, that's a different kind of gay guy in Hollywood. And they're inserting it more and more.
Right.
So, and they're almost doing it in an offset scenario. So if you think of Will and Grace, Will was a little more normal. Jack was flamboyant. That was a TV show that ran, I guess, in 2000s.
Right. I love Will and Grace.
And they kind of do it in this show, too. It's like they've got to play the polarity of homosexual roles on the show. The reason it's a trope is a lot of homosexuals say it's wrong for Hollywood to push us into traditional gender roles like that, yet people continue to do it. It's just obviously a trope, and I don't think people are recognizing that it's one, but they play it up. I'm seeing it more and more on TV, and again, the show just capitalizes on those things in order to build a storyline. So,
well, it is, and last night we were watching, NCIS, and there was a dirt biker guy leading a gang, and they found him dead in bed with another man, and so everyone's like,
So, yeah, we got
expected.
Well, and there's a
and
sense
so-
that I had a conservative friend last night who said, "Well, it's an attempt by Hollywood to show that everybody's gay." that everybody's gay, and that's kind of one I've heard that before
Right.
from people who are saying, "Come on, everybody's a little bit gay." No, not really.
I don't think so.
No, not really.
I don't think everybody
It's-
is a little
no,
bit
some
gay.
people are just straight, but maybe that's the attempt. I don't know.
I think what bothers me most about this, though, is it's like every cliche and every personality type, walk of life that you could have. I feel like everybody feels like, well, we have to have that included in here. We need somebody that's gay. We need somebody that's transgender. We
The
need
token character.
We need to make sure that we
Yeah,
have
there is
X
a
number
token
of black
character.
people. We need to make sure that we have this and
Well, there is an attempt,
What gives?
especially with sexual identity in TV and Hollywood, there is an attempt to normalize subculture. And it is still subculture. The most generous estimates of homosexuality are 10% of the population.
Right.
Most people say credibly 3 to 5% of the population are homosexual. Yet they're at least 1/4 of any quadruple in a
Right.
TV show, right?
Right.
It's at least 25%, if not more.
And when it's appropriate, absolutely place it there. But then when you just have those random standout characters or scenes in a show where you're like, well, you're obviously trying to appeal to something else here. It's not making sense.
An attempt to
that-
normalize, but I think it backfires for the same reason that having the token black girlfriend. I read a great article. In fact, it was forwarded by a pastor friend out of Atlanta who's big into Black Lives Matter. That talks about in a lot of programs there's the sassy, say it straight
Right.
black friend, whether it's
That-
and
yeah,
it tends
that's
to be
exactly
a
what I'm
female,
talking
and how
about.
it's unfair. It's a trope of black women that's
Sure.
really truly unfair.
You get that angry black woman mantra that's just not true.
But Hollywood plays on it, and it plays into that, and so goes the masculine gay character that a lot of people are inserting right now. And so I think I think people should be more offended at that than they're obviously showing right now.
Right.
But let's get to the flop. I mean the river. We were backing up. My slides is out of order. So, big special election was held in Georgia yesterday.
Yeah.
Georgia Senate seat number 6, in which there will be a runoff.
Yeah.
There were 19 candidates in this race, Mitch, and the Democrat, the lone Democrat,
Yeah.
Ossoff, I believe is the last name,
Yeah.
who doesn't even live in the district, they call
Right.
him a carpetbagger, pulled 46% of the vote, which
Yeah.
wasn't enough to outright take the seat, and
the
will force him
50.
into a runoff with the highest polling Republican.
Karen
What's her last name?
Handel?
Yeah, Handel, I believe it is. Karen Handel.
Mm-hmm.
What I'll say is the top 4 Republicans in this race garnered 49% of the vote. The one Democrat garnered 46%, yet a lot of news sources and even the Democratic National Committee are saying that this is a windfall because this is Tom Price's district, who's now working with the Trump
A
administration.
lot of big name Republicans have come out of this district.
Yeah, and so they're saying for a Democrat to win this special election, even though he didn't win the seat,
Yeah.
right? It's got to go to a runoff,
Yeah.
is a testament to people coming out and voting against Trump. I think that's premature because 49% of voters still voted for a Republican,
Right.
and the other candidates on there were independent and some conservative. And here's the thing, every single one of the Republicans said they voted and supported Donald Trump.
Right.
Some of them even used his phrases in
Yes.
campaigning and said they would be like him.
Right.
And they garnered collectively 49% of the vote.
Right.
I think this seat stays conservative, just like Kansas did last week.
Right.
When, they thought they had a play, and even Democrats are shouting, saying, hey, look how close we got. It's a special election. The seat in Kansas still went conservative.
Yeah.
They think they have another one in Montana coming up. I think it stays conservative.
They don't vote on this until June, correct?
Yeah, June.
I mean,
There's
did you
time
know
there.
how
Again,
ugly this is gonna
not.
get
This is
until-
not a done deal. This is not a done deal. But I got a great article here that says what it does tell us is that polling's not broken because the polling on the special election in that area actually proved to be pretty predictive. So there's a little bit of comfort coming out of coming out of a season where polling wasn't so good. Mitch, I'll give you the last word before we leave.
Tennessee Live.
That's this weekend, Friday night. Comment, send us a message, facebooklive.com/manuptalk. Hey, I tell you what, if you send us a message saying you listened to the show today, one of you will win 2 tickets to Tennessee Live
Yay,
Friday night.
fun.
Mitch is emceeing and her best going out on the town attire. Again, you've been listening to Man Up America here on Talk 101.3 The Buzz WTV Television, and we're out.